Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana
Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Mathura Dham ki jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dham ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Yamuna Mai ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai, Tulasi Maharani ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru Shri Gauranga. Glories to Shri Prabhupada.
What verse number?
17.
Yo, how's that? Keep quiet.
No purport. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3. Krishna is the source of all incarnations. Text 17. Dhanvantaram
Dhanvantaram
Tvadasamam
Dasamam
Trayodasamam
Tayodasamam
Eva
Eva
Cha
Cha
Apayat
Apayat
Suran
Suran
Anyan
Anyan
Mohinya
Mohinya
Mohayan
Mohayan
Striya
Priya
Dhanvantaram Dadasamam
Dhanvantaram
Trayodasamam Evacha
Trayodasham Nevacha
Apayayat Suran Anyan
Apayayat Suran Anyan
Mohinya Mohayan Striya
Mohinya Mohayan Sriya
Dhanvantaram Vadasamam
Dhanvantaram Dvadashamam
Trayodasamam Evacha
Trayodasham Nevacha
Apayayat Suran Anyan
Apayayat Suran Anyan
Mahinya Mohayan Striya
Mohinya Mohayan Sriya
Dhanvantaram Dadasamam
Dhanvantaram Dvadashamam
Trayodasamam Evacha
Trayodasham Nevacha
Apayayat Suram Anyam
Apayayat Suran Anyan
Mohinya Mohayan Striya.
Mohinya Mohayan Sriya.
Can I have an 8th canto, please? Please chant.
Dhanvantaram Dvadashamam Trayodashamam Evacha Apayayat Suran Anyan Mohinya Mohayan Sriya.
Do me an on-chanting card, too.
Dhanvataram dudhasamam
Dhanvantaram Dvadashamam
Trayodhasamam evacha
Trayodashamam Evacha
Apayayat suran anyan
Apayayat Suran Anyan
Mohiya Mohayan Striya
Mohinya Mohayan Sriya. Dhanvantaram Dvadashamam Trayodashamam Evacha Apayayat Suran Anyan Mohinya Mohayan Sriya. Dhanvantaram Dvadashamam Trayodashamam Evacha Apayayat Suran Anyan Mohinya Mohayan Sriya.
Can you say the word for word, Vishnu?
Dhanvantaram, the incarnation of Godhead named Dhanvantari.
The incarnation of God named Dhanvantari.
Dvadashamam, 12th in the line.
12th in the line.
Trayodashamam,
Trayodashamam
13th in the line.
13th in the line.
Eva,
Eva
certainly.
certainly.
Cha,
And
Apayayat,
Apayayat
gave to drink.
Suran
Suran, the demigod. Anyan, others. Mohinya, by charming beauty.
charming beauty.
Mohayan, alluring. Priya, form of a woman.
Form of a woman.
Translation. In the 12th incarnation, the Lord appeared as Dhanvantari And in the 13th, he allured the atheists by the charming beauty of a woman and gave nectar to the demigods to drink. Please repeat. In the 12th incarnation,
In the 12th incarnation,
the Lord appeared as Dhanvantari.
the Lord appeared as Dhanvantari.
And in the 13th, he allured the atheists
And in the 13th, he allured the atheists
by the charming beauty of a woman
by the charming beauty of a woman.
and gave nectar to the demigods to drink.
He gave nectar to the demigods to drink.
Om Jnana Timarandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Svayam Rupagadamayam Dadati Svabadantiham Vandeham Shiro Shuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Saguratam Sahagara Ragatam Vitam Dam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savrutam Vrijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitam Sja Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Nina Bando Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Surato Pangor Mamamanta Matergati Matsarvasva Padambo Jo Radha Madana Mohano Dibyan Bandiranya Kalpachumada Srimad Ratnaghara Singhasarasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Vistalavi Savyamano Smarami Shriman Rasa Rasarambi Bamsti Bata Tatastita Karshan Venu Svanar Gopir Gopinatha Sriye Stuna Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatirubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. In the 12th incarnation, the Lord appeared as Dhanvantari, and in the 13th he allured the atheists by the charming beauty of a woman and gave nectar to the demigods to drink. So, beginning with the previous verse 16, describing the Korma avatar, the churning of the milk ocean, which is a quite adventurous and amazing pastime that's there in the 8th canto, is being referred to many, several incarnations of the Lord appeared, and many different varieties of, let's say, good and bad personalities and things appeared. Is everyone familiar? Has everyone read this chapter and these chapters in the 8th canto, or is this new information? New information. Wow. Well, there's no purport today, but we will be reading from Prabhupada's rendering of this 8th canto. Pertinent sections. So, actually, it's quite interesting. The Kumbh Mela that's taking place now is the biggest one every 144 years was in 1977. Right? So it's every 6 years. But is there in between 144 years that makes one bigger or smaller? You're not sure. Okay, because there's Kumbh Mela going on right now.
Yeah.
Happens during the month of Magh.
Yeah.
And the culmination is in Magh Purnima.
Yeah.
So this Somavati Amavasya, that must have been a huge...
Yeah, it was a big day.
Really big.
As I saw some pictures of the Kumbh Mela like this. You can't see the ground. It's just filled with people.
Right.
Can't see the river either.
Yeah. You know, your feet might not touch the ground trying to get to the river for several hours as you're, carried by a river of people.
Yeah.
Okay, now there was. How did the idea that there was immortal nectar to drink originate? Because then the Lord directed to make a churning of the milk ocean.
It was because the demigods had been cursed by Durvasa, lost their kingdom, and the demons had overrun the heavenly planets.
No, it was Brihaspati, wasn't it? That
No.
Indra became maddened by his opulence, and Brihaspati came into the assembly and was not like.
That's from Durvasa.
Okay.
This is Durvasa. It's similar, but
Durvasa.
Durvasa.
And what did they do that made Durvasa curse them?
Well, Durvasa went to Vaikuntha, and he went to Vaikuntha, and Vishnu garlanded him, and he was coming back. He was wearing this garland, so he met Indra.
Oh, okay, and then and he gave this Vaikuntha garland, and Indra didn't respect it properly. He gave it to his elephant, and the elephant just kind of promptly smashed it up.
Yeah.
And so Durvasa.
Cursed.
Okay, so then the demons took control of the heavenly planets. So the nectar of immortality, how did that?
Well, there was a
originate?
battle between the demigods and the demons, and so many of the demigods had perished and
Right.
damaged. So
There was a pool of it was a pool of nectar, and they were dipped in, and they came back to life with their injuries.
no, that's
That is
different.
when Shiva killed all the
Okay.
Mayadana.
Yeah. So in this story, what happens is that they approach Brahma for help, and then Brahma says, "Okay, let's go and let's approach Vishnu." And when they talk to Vishnu, Vishnu says, "Well, now you're too damaged, and so many of your folks are killed. The only way you can revive all this and cure your wounds and also regain control is if you turn the milk ocean and gain nectar. But you can't do it alone, so you need to
Make a
strike
truce with the demons.
demons."
And there's the idea of using the logic of the snake and the mouse in a basket. Once a snake and a mouse were trapped in a basket, and so neither could get out. Well, the mouse could get out, so the snake had to make a truce. That said, "Okay, I won't eat you, but we're both stuck in here." So it was actually the mouse wouldn't be able to make a hole in the basket unless the snake had given permission. So you make a hole in the basket, and then we'll all escape to safety. But you're not going to eat me. I promise, because you do this. But it's a false promise, just like politicians make false promise. Yes, or somebody's making agitation. Don't worry, cooperate, and we'll let you do your thing, But then the cooperation, whatever is there, but at a certain point, then the military force comes and, puts all put all the leaders of the uprising in prison or before the firing squad, everything finished. So who's going to trust who? The demons or the demigods, the idea was that they want to get immortal nectar. So, how did we? Yeah, okay, right. So, many there was many amazing phenomena happened during the churning of the milk ocean. And the demigods and the demons also were being encouraged not to be allured or to lose their concentration on the goal, which was to get the nectar by being bewildered or distracted by all the different things that come out. So this is, of course, a good lesson for everyone, especially for us, because our goal is to achieve pure devotional service. And along the way, attempting to serve the Supreme Personality of God, a devotee becomes very powerful. Actually, 8 mystic cities, which are aspired to by the yogis, they automatically become endowed upon a pure devotee. Prabhupada was asked, show us a miracle, show us that you can perform a miracle. And he would point to his disciples, Western disciples, this is my miracle. I can converted Malechas and Yavans into Brahmin Vaishnavas, which is quite miraculous. Lord Chaitanya teaches in verse 4 of Shishastakam, Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim, that I don't want wealth, I don't want followers, I don't want beautiful women. These are things which all materially motivated people want. So because the devotee doesn't want that, he only wants causeless, unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service to the Lord. Even birth after birth, the devotee doesn't even desire mukti. He's so much absorbed in devotional service, he doesn't. But one who is on the platform of pure devotional service, mukti is automatically there. Mukti, how is that? Sevate sman. That mukti comes just asking to serve the devotee automatically. Or in other words, the devotee is liberated in any condition of life, and doesn't matter where he has to be or what he has to do. In relation to Mahatma Vidura, who previously was Yamaraj, one of the most important administrators in the universe, he represents the full judiciary ascertainment of the Supreme Lord, because Yamaraj has to ascertain justice for all sinful living entities. He became Vidura, seemingly a Sudra born from the womb of a maidservant, Sudrani. Prabhupada says, sometimes the Lord and his pure devotees have to play the part of many, and he uses the word creatures to, here we go again with this, deliver the fallen conditioned souls. So the idea is, I can look at it, but I can't touch it or move it around. Goddess of fortune appeared from this. churning of the milk ocean. We'll read some of her appearance, because this is very, very instructive how, following in the footsteps of the goddess of fortune, we should only be interested in the Supreme Lord. The goddess of fortune examined the assembly, as many persons are present during this churning of the milk ocean. And certainly when an incarnation or an incarnation of the Lord or a very important personality appears, then the host of demigods and all important persons of the universe are there to witness. She examined the assembly and she thought in this way: someone has undergone great austerity but has not yet conquered anger. Someone possesses knowledge, but he has not conquered material desires. Someone is a very great personality, but he cannot conquer lusty desires. Even a great personality depends on something else. How then can he be the supreme controller? Prabhupada says, here is an attempt to find the supreme controller, or Ishvar. Everyone may be accepted as an Ishvar, or controller, but still such controllers are controlled by others. For example, one may have undergone severe austerities but still be under the control of anger. By a scrutinizing analysis, we find that everyone is controlled by something or someone else. No one, therefore, can be the true controller but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna. Krishna is never controlled by anyone, for he is the controller of everyone. Sarva Karna Karna. She continued, someone may possess full knowledge of religion, but still not be kind to all living entities. And Prabhupada immediately goes after Dharma Kait Kvachit Tachana Bhuta Sauridam. We actually see there are many Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, and religionists of other cults who adhere to their religious principles very nicely, but are not equal to all living entities. Indeed, although they profess to be very religious, they kill poor animals. And Prabhupada's diagnosis: such religion has no meaning.
Oh my God. Heavy duty.
Wow.
One may be very expert in following the religious principles of his own sect, but if he has no tendency to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his observance of religious principles is simply a waste of time. So because Krishna is in the heart of every living entity, if you are mercilessly killing other living entities, then how can you possibly claim to have love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead? It's a laughable and preposterous idea. The sign of a devotee is that he is friend to everyone. A devotee will never allow a poor animal to be killed in the name of religion. At least just say, all right, I'm an atheist and I want to eat meat. That would be better than saying, oh, this is okay meat because it was, the butcher knife that we used was purified by a religious ceremony. This is a difference between a superficially religious person and a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Someone may have longevity but not have auspiciousness or good behavior. Someone may have both auspiciousness and good behavior, but the duration of his life is not fixed. Although such demigods as Shiva have eternal life, they have inauspicious habits like living in crematoriums. And even if others are well qualified in all respects, they are not devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this way, after full deliberation, the goddess of fortune accepted Mukunda as her husband, because although he is independent and not in want of her, he possesses all transcendental qualities and mystic powers and is therefore the most desirable. So, Supreme Personality of Godhead is the father of the three worlds, and his bosom is the residence of Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, the proprietor of all opulences. The goddess of fortune, by her favorable and merciful glance, can increase the opulence of the three worlds, along with their inhabitants and their directors, the demigods. Since the goddess of fortune stays on the bosom of Narayan, she naturally sees any devotee who worships Narayan. When the goddess of fortune understands that the devotee is in favor of devotional service to Narayan, she is naturally inclined to bless the devotee with all opulences. The karmis try to receive the favor and mercy of Lakshmi, but because they are not devotees of Narayan, their opulence is flickering. The opulence of devotees who are attached to the service of Narayan is not like the opulence of the karmis. The opulence of devotees is as permanent as the opulence of Narayan himself. In the case of Sudam Brahman, Krishna's childhood school friend at the Gurukul of Sandipani Muni, when he was benedicted and his entire native ancestral home was turned into a residence more grand and glorious than Indra, the king of heaven, the result was that he increased his ecstasy and love of Godhead day by day, more and more, living in that opulence, understanding that this was a gift, a blessing from his dear friend Krishna. So it's not that the devotee is not he's averse to opulence, but everything he uses in the service of the Lord. So, great worship of goddess Rama and Narayan took place. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the great sage Angir, and similar directors of universal management, topmost personalities, led the glorification, showered flowers and chanted mantras indicating the transcendental glories of the Lord. All the demigods, along with the Prajapatis and their descendants, being blessed by Lakshmiji's glance upon them, were immediately enriched with good behavior and transcendental qualities. Thus they were very much satisfied. O king, because of being neglected by the goddess of fortune, the demons and Rakshasas were depressed, bewildered, and frustrated, and thus they became shameless. Just like a typical Friday or Saturday night on the Lower East Side, right? Next appeared, okay, so more personalities start appearing. While the sons of Kasyapa, who were both demons and demigods, what happened? You guys moved back. Or you need the wall?
Yeah, back.
Okay. Move back to support your back. We're churning the ocean of milk. A very wonderful male person appeared. He was strongly built. His arms were long, stout, and strong. His neck, which was marked with 3 lines, resembled a conch shell. His eyes were reddish, and his complexion was blackish. He was very young and garlanded with flowers, and his entire body was fully decorated with various ornaments. He was dressed in yellow garments and wore brightly polished earrings made of pearls. The tips of his hair were anointed with oil, and his chest was very broad. His body had all good qualities. He was stout and strong, like a lion, and he was decorated with bangles. In his hand he carried a jug filled to the top with nectar. This person was Dhanvantari, a plenary portion of Lord Vishnu. He was very conversant with the science of
Ayurveda.
medicine. Yeah. Celebrated. Ayurveda Drik, fairly conversant with medical science. And as one of the demigods, he was permitted to take a share in sacrifices. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam remarks, Sanskrit translation, Dhanvantari was carrying the jug containing nectar, was a plenary incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But although he was very strong, the asuras were able to take the jug of nectar from his hand. So things are now have gotten very
Interesting.
Yes, that Dhanvantari, he's appearing, but he's got the nectar. This is the whole enterprise, the whole endeavor was to get the nectar, and even just previously the goddess of fortune appeared. It's all well and good, but where's the nectar? So now here's Dhanvantari appearing with the nectar, and for the sake of pastimes, upon seeing Dhanvantari carrying the jug of nectar, the demons, desiring the jug and its contents, immediately snatched it away by force. When the jug of nectar was carried off by the demons, the demigods were morose. Thus they sought shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hari. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who always desires to fulfill the ambitions of his devotees, saw that the demigods were morose, he said to them, "Do not be aggrieved. By my own energy, I shall bewilder the demons by creating a quarrel among them." And what's the best way to make a quarrel amongst demons? Throw a woman in the middle.
Wow. That's it.
And in this way, I shall fulfill your desire to have the nectar. Two best friends, when they both desire the same woman, can end up killing each other.
Oh my God.
O king, a quarrel then arose among the demons over... What is this? No. Okay, so now they have the nectar. Okay. Like even there's the... Prabhupada describes the meaningless claim about, the dacoits and robbers who just, rampaged and robbed, and then they all go back to the safe house to now let us all divide it honorably, honor among thieves. So here now we see that the demons, they weren't even on that level. A quarrel then arose among the demons over who would get the nectar first. Each of them said, "You cannot drink it first. I must drink it first. Me first, not you." This is the symptom of demons. The first concern of a non-devotee is how to enjoy his personal sense gratification at once. Immediately. Whereas the devotee's first concern is to satisfy the Lord. Okay, let me see the Bhakti Siddhanta Upakyana. Is everybody familiar with the story, the blacksmith and the potter?
Yes.
Down in Australia, such stories probably haven't made it down there, right? Okay. So listen carefully. This is extremely complex storyline. And that doesn't make sense. Yes. Okay. In the village Bilaspur, there lived a blacksmith named Vamacharan. Once he went to visit his friend who happened to be a potter in the village Haripur. Hoping to earn some appreciation from his friend, Vamacharan offered to assist him in his work. The potter was very delicately using his hammer to give fine shape to some pitchers and pots. Very delicate, sensitive, artistic. While Vamachran, imitating him, started hammering the other pitchers just as he would do in his blacksmith shop. He started hammering them so violently that all of them were in a very short time smashed all to smithereens. Purport: the manner in which a blacksmith hammers iron to give shapes to it is not meant for a potter to model clay. The method and technique of both of them are entirely different. A materialistic worker usually develops a conception that the devotional service offered by a devotee for the satisfaction of the Lord is apparently and externally akin to sense-gratifying material activities being motivated for the same thing, and as such belong to the same category. In fact, there is a real difference between the process and manner in both such activities. I want my sense gratification immediately, and at all costs. Me first, not you, as opposed to how the Lord will be satisfied, how the spiritual master will be satisfied. A so-called dispassionate material activities carry no intrinsic value whatsoever, unless they are favorable for the satisfactory devotional service to the Lord. An impersonalist worshiper of 5 elements, bereft of devotional surrender, will only create more harm than good than any pure devotee who is sincerely practicing the delicate process of satisfying the Supreme Lord. This is the distinction between the non-devotee and the devotee. In the material world, since most people are non-devotees, they regularly compete, fight, disagree, and war among themselves, for everyone wants to enjoy and satisfy his own senses. Therefore, unless such demons become Krishna conscious and are trained to satisfy the senses of the Lord, there can be no question of peace in human society, or any society, even that of the demigods. The demigods and devotees, however, always surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord, and thus the Lord is always anxious to satisfy their ambitions. While the demons fight to satisfy their own senses, devotees engage in devotional service to satisfy the senses of the Lord. And of course, the main satisfaction of the senses of the Lord in this Kali Yuga is to spread the Sankirtan movement, the holy name and transcendental book distribution. In Lord Brahma's prayers for creative energy, chapter 9 of the 3rd canto, he is praying to the Lord for the ability to set up the universe so that the living entities can make spiritual progress. And Prabhupada writes in that purport, in that section, that such a desire and prayer of Lord Brahma or devotees in his sampradaya is always blessed and fulfilled by the Lord. Just like Srila Prabhupada, he was praying to fulfill the order of his spiritual master. Actually, Prabhupada he left from Calcutta on the Jaladuta, and just before he left, he journeyed to Mayapur. He took the blessings at Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Samadhi, and he also went to Advaita Bhavan, where he had been going many times over the years, and there was a wonderful story in the late 70s or maybe early 80s. No, I think it was during Prabhupada's presence. No, this is in Shantipur. It is in Advaita Bhavan near Shiva Sangha, near the Mayapur Mandir, but Shantipur is some distance away. So Prabhupada would go there before he had taken sannyas, and he was praying to Advaita Acharya. How is Advaita Acharya so significant? Well, many reasons, but in this particular reason, Prabhupada says, Kaviraj Goswami says, by the devotional service of these two persons, Advaita Acharya and Haridas Thakur, the Lord descended. So the Lord comes at the request of his devotee, and also devotees are deputed to come down also on behalf of devotees. My dear Lord, your teachings have much depreciated. Bhaktivinoda Thakur praying to Lord Chaitanya, it's not within my power at this later stage of my life to do this all myself. You must send someone, Prabhupada says, from your personal staff. That was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So, So Prabhupada was praying and to Advaita Acharya to be able to accomplish the mission of his spiritual master. And also Prabhupada selected his residence at the place of Jiva Goswami, the Radha Damodar Mandir, which was the place where Srila Rupa Goswami is in eternal samadhi, and where the six Goswamis, that was their main meeting place in Vrindavan. Sanat Goswami's Madan Mohan Mandir is a short distance away, for example. And Prabhupada said they would have learned discourses, Nana Shastra Vichara Naikanu, scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing devotional service as taught by Lord Chaitanya in pursuance of the worship of Radha and Krishna, Lokanamiti Karino, for the benefit of everyone in the entire universe. And he was praying to Rupa Goswami and Jiva Goswami for the ability to give Krishna consciousness to others. And upon seeing the Boston skyline, when the ship docked, he was there briefly for a few hours before going to its final destination, which was New York. Prabhupada prayed, I wish that you may deliver them. So Prabhupada's desire was blessed by the Lord, and we are the miracle of, because Prabhupada desired that we be delivered, we're being delivered. While the demons fight to satisfy their own desires, devotees engage in devotional service, preaching the Sankirtan movement, to satisfy the senses of the Lord. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement must be alert! Jeev Jago, wake up! To this, in regards to this point. In other words, the Krishna consciousness movement must keep moving. It shouldn't stand still, and it shouldn't go backwards, or it shouldn't go sideways. It should go straight. And going straight means to satisfy the senses of the Lord and preach this Krishna consciousness movement with full vigor and in conviction, faith, and enthusiasm. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement must be alert in regard to this point, and then their preaching of the Krishna consciousness movement will be successful. Some of the demons said, all the demigods have taken part in churning the ocean of milk. Now, as everyone has an equal right to partake in any public sacrifice according to the eternal religious system, it is befitting that the demigods now have a share of the nectar. So that's some of the more magnanimous demons are thinking like this, you know. O king, in this way, the weaker demons forbade the stronger demons to take the nectar. Of course, that was we're going to give something to the demons, but actually they wanted the stronger demons are not letting the weaker demons get it. So they're like using all this diplomacy amongst each other, you know. Desired to take the nectar, those among the demons who were less strong spoke in favor of the demigods. All of a sudden. Whereas just like an hour ago they were the weaker Daityas naturally pleaded on behalf of the demigods to stop the stronger Daityas from drinking the nectar without sharing it. In this way, disagreement and trouble arose as they forbade one another to drink the nectar. Now let's just see how the Lord solves the problem.
Wow.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who can counteract any unfavorable situation, then assumed the form of an extremely beautiful woman. This incarnation as a woman, Mohini Murti, was most pleasing to the mind. Her complexion resembled in color a newly grown blackish lotus, and every part of her body was beautifully situated. Her ears were equally decorated with earrings. Her cheeks were very beautiful. Her nose was raised, and her face full of youthful luster. Her large breasts made her waist seem very thin. Attracted by the aroma of her face and body, bumblebees hummed around her, and thus her eyes were restless.
So she was bluish in color?
Yeah.
Her hair, which was Krishna is most attractive, all attractive. So how much attractive he must be when he assumes the form of a woman. Even Radharani herself becomes attracted. Krishna sometimes disguises himself in Braja pastimes. Krishna comes in disguise of a demigoddess to try to ascertain in that disguise, or to transiently trick Radharani to reveal her innermost feelings about himself, Krishna, because she will, in the form of a demigoddess, Krishna, ask questions like, how can you love such an irresponsible and inconsistent person like Krishna? I'm so surprised. And it gets Radharani going. And Radharani says, I'm so inexplicably attracted to you. You must come and live with me and never leave. Her hair, which was extremely beautiful, was garlanded with malika flowers. Her attractively constructed neck was decorated with a necklace and other ornaments. Her arms were decorated with bangles. Her body was covered with a clean sari, and her breasts seemed like islands in an ocean of beauty. Her legs were decorated with ankle bells because of the movements of her eyebrows as she smiled with shyness and glanced over the demons. All the demons were saturated with lusty desire. And every one of them desired to possess her. Thereafter, the demons became inimical towards one another. Throwing and snatching the container of nectar, they gave up their friendly relationship. Meanwhile, it sort of backs up a little bit in narration here. We moved on to chapter 9. Meanwhile, they saw a very beautiful young woman coming forward toward them. Upon seeing the beautiful woman, the demon said, Alas, how wonderful is her beauty, how wonderful the luster of her body, and how wonderful the beauty of her youthful age. Speaking in this way, they quickly approached her, full of lusty desires to enjoy her, and began to inquire from her in many ways. Oh, wonderfully beautiful girl! You have such nice eyes, resembling the petals of a lotus flower. Who are you? Where do you come from? What is your purpose in coming here? And to whom do you belong? Oh, you whose thighs are extraordinarily beautiful, our minds are becoming agitated simply because of seeing you. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that the question, to whom do you belong, means, whose daughter are you? Since the demons can understand that the beautiful girl was still unmarried, every one of them desired to marry her. Thus they inquired, whose daughter are you? Meaning, like, who are we going to have to contend with What to speak of human beings, even the demigods, demons, siddhas, gandharvas, charanas, and the various directors of the universe, the Prajapatis, have never touched you before. It is not that we are unable to understand your identity. The demons knew that this young girl was unmarried, and therefore they dared to address her. They supposed that the young girl, Mohini Murti, had come there to find a husband among all those present. O beautiful girl with beautiful eyebrows, certainly Providence, by his causeless mercy, has sent you to please the senses and mind of all of us.
Oh,
Is this not a fact? We'll see. We are now all engaged in enmity among ourselves because of this one subject. Now this will show just how foolish one becomes when one is infatuated with lusty desires. Now one is going to completely trust a woman. I love you. You're everything. You know, and like, whatever you decide, whatever you want, you just stay in this house and I'll take care of you.
I'll feed you.
All intelligence finished. We are now all engaged in enmity. So, they want to put her in the position of the Supreme Court Justice. You decide. Although we have been born in the same family, we are now becoming increasingly inimical. O thin-waisted woman, who are so beautiful in your prestigious position. She's prestigious because she's controlling everyone, because they're under their intense lusty desires are making them completely under her control. We therefore request you to favor us by settling our dispute. The demons understood that the beautiful woman had attracted the attention of them all. Therefore, they unanimously requested her to become the arbitrator to settle their dispute. All of us, both demons and demigods, have been born of the same father, Kashyapa, and thus we are related as brothers. But now we are exhibiting our personal prowess in dissension. Therefore, we request you to settle our dispute and to divide the nectar equally among us. Having thus been requested by the demons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had assumed the form of a beautiful woman, began to smile. Looking at them with attractive feminine gestures, she spoke as follows. This is so amazing. Krishna is the Param Purush, and the womanly form is simply meant for his satisfaction. Definition of the absolute truth, that from which everything emanates. So everything that we see represented in the conditioned soul, his likes, his desires, his psychology, it comes in the first place because it's there in complete unlimited perfection in the Lord. So that people are attracted by the opposite sex. That's there on the highest platform of relationship. And actually the word love, which is cheaply bandied about or understood, love between man and woman, because Krishna is the supreme male and all living entities are prakriti or female, so the word love only can be applied to love of God or love exchanged between the Lord and his pure devotees. So when the Lord assumes the form of a beautiful woman, it's just most amazing. And of course, when he does that in his Braja pastimes, it's on the supreme paramount platform of loving exchange. But here, it's Krishna has every right to do this, and he has full knowledge of what the womanly form is all about. So now she will reveal that. Looking at them with attractive feminine gestures, she spoke as follows. The Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of Mohini told the demons, "O son of Kasyapa Muni, I am only a prostitute. How is it that you have so much faith in me? A learned person never puts his faith in a woman."
Oh
Chanaka Pandit, the great politician, has said, "Never put your faith in a woman or a politician." The Lord, who was pretending to be a woman, warned the demons against putting so much faith in her. In other words, the illusory form of woman, which is Maya's main agency for bewilderment in the material world, is just that, bewilderment. How could you put faith in the bewildering potency? You must put faith in something that's unbewildered or unbewildering. So here they're doing the opposite. This is a symptom of the mode of ignorance. Always striving in the wrong direction. The devotee puts his faith in the form of the Lord and is free from putting his faith in the form of the opposite sex. Warned the demons against putting so much faith in her, for she had appeared as an attractive woman, ultimately to cheat them. Indirectly disclosing the purpose for which she had appeared before them, she said to the sons of Kasyapa, "How is this? You are all born of a great rishi, yet you are putting your faith in a woman who is loitering here and there like a prostitute, unprotected by father or husband? Women in general should not be trusted, and what to speak of a woman loitering like a prostitute." Why? Because what to speak of a woman, but anyone who is simply preoccupied and overwhelmed, interested in sense gratification, they can never be trusted. You can only trust someone whose mind and senses are completely under control, because everything they do is simply, it's directed by the absolute truth, and therefore it'll be favorable and beneficial for everyone in all times, places, and circumstances. Whereas the activity of the fruitive actor, like Vamacharan, all the pots and delicate figurines all smashed to smithereens within moments. And we see yesterday, it was a warm day, and everybody's, hibernating desires for sense gratification. Like even, it was warm, but not so warm, but people are walking around in t-shirts and mini skirts, and
Today's worse, yeah.
They were, Prabhupada was on a morning walk with, I think it was Jadharani and Govindadasi, this is early on, and they come upon two, like college girls or high school girls, and they were wearing mini skirts, and they're both looking at each other. The mini skirted girls looking at the sari clad devotee girls, and vice versa. And Prabhupada picked up on it. They're thinking that you're crazy, and you're looking at them that they're crazy. Their austerity is for sense gratification. Why do you people have bald heads? And then she said, "Why do you have bare legs?" To the mini-skirted, flippant British female reporter in the Bhaktivedanta Manor. It was like a cold day, and you're in a mini-skirt, with your legs all cold. Said, better to have a cool brain and warm legs. One needs a cool brain. That's because our brain, we don't have a bald head, so it'd be more cool. Our brain is more cool, and our legs are warmer. But you need to have a cool brain to understand this Krishna conscious philosophy. The word Kamini is significant in this connection. Women, especially beautiful young women, invoke the dormant lusty desires of a man. Therefore, according to Manu Samhita, every woman should be protected, either by her husband, by her father or by her grown sons. Ultimately for her own benefit, because uncontrolled sense, the men with uncontrolled senses or their lusty desires are the main motivating factors in their life. They can put an unprotected woman into great danger. Without such protection, a woman will be exploited. As soon as a woman is exploited by a man, she becomes a common prostitute. This is explained by Mohini Murti. O demons, as monkeys, jackals, and dogs are unsteady in their sexual relationships and want newer and newer friends every day, women who live independently seek new friends daily. Friendship with such a woman is never permanent. This is the opinion of learned scholars. Shukadeva Goswami continued, after the demons heard the words of Mohini Murti, who had spoken as if jokingly, but dead serious. Dead serious. They were all very confident. No, we want you to be the arbitrator. After being given this very stark warning. Buyer beware. They laughed with gravity, and ultimately they delivered the container of nectar into her hands. Krishna, in his form of Mohini, was certainly not joking, but talking seriously, with gravity. The demons, however, being captivated by Mohini Murti's bodily features, took her words as a joke and confidently delivered the container of nectar onto her hands. Thus, Mohini Murti resembles Lord Buddha, who appeared Samohaya Suradvisam to cheat the Asuras. The word Suradvisam refers to those who are envious of the demigods or demons. Sometimes an incarnation of the Lord cheats the atheists. Thus we see here that although Mohini Murti was speaking factually to the Asuras took her words to be facetious. Indeed, they were so confident of Mohini Murti's honesty that they immediately delivered the container of nectar into her hands as if they would allow her to do with the nectar whatever she liked, whether she distributed it, threw it away, or drank it all herself without giving any to them. So the nectar, at a certain point there was, and some of the drops fell down right on this spot, the confluence of the Ganges and Yamuna. And when did that exactly happen in terms of this story? When
there's instance of poison dropping and nectar dropping.
Right.
So you're referring to
the nectar.
Nectar happened when the demons were fighting.
Which exact point?
I mean, it's not. You mean what? He's asking which point.
You know, the some of the drops of nectar fell on the confluence of the Ganges and Yamuna, and that's why there's Kumbh Mela, because people are going there.
Yeah.
The exact time.
And the demons fighting.
When the demons were.
Then they're gonna get they get immortality. Thereafter, Mohini smiled slightly and spoke in attractive words. She said, "My dear demons, if you accept whatever I may do, whether honest or dishonest, then I can take the responsibility for dividing the nectar among you." So when the beautiful woman understands that all of her suitors are completely under her control, then she can play around with them as she likes. Buy me this, give me that. And you don't do it, then it'll be a problem. So she's saying, all right, okay, then you have whatever I do, you know, and because the lusty desires are so strong, She does all types of terrible things to embarrass you, to shame you, to like make you look like a laughing stock. But you don't go along with what I say, then no sex for you tonight.
Oh my God.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot abide by anyone's dictation. Whatever he does is absolute. The demons, of course, were deluded by the illusory potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus Mohini Murti got them to promise that whatever she would do, they would accept. The chief of the demons were not very expert in deciding things.
Oh my God.
Upon hearing the sweet words of Mohini Murti, they immediately assented. Yes, they answered. What you have said is all right. Thus the demons agreed to accept her decision. This is likened unto if you don't understand the Shastric injunctions with full assimilation, and in parrot-like verbiage just to gain some false name and fame in society, then when you're actually put into a situation where only real, complete self-realization will help you to transcend the stringent conditions that material nature is presenting, then that's likened unto the villager who only knew yes, no, and very good. Well, a group of dacoits committed a heinous crime, robbery and murder, and made a plot to frame an innocent villager. So the villager was arrested, and he had come to know just three English words, and he knew that simply by speaking a little English, then people would think that you're a very cultured, educated, learned person, follower of Western culture, like that, So he was brought into the law court, and the judge spoke to him in Bengali, his native language. Did you commit the murder? Thinking that this is a really bad injustice, so I'll speak some English, and the judge will understand that I'm a good man. And he said, yes. Then the judge asked him, was there anyone else with you? And he drew on the second out of his three English words. And he thought that this would surely exonerate him. And he said, no. Then the judge, still speaking in Bengali to him, said, then you will have to go to prison for the rest of your life. And then he said, well, this is such a terrible injustice, so I'll use my last resort, my secret weapon, a 2-word compound, and this will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that I'm innocent of all charges. And he said, very good. So you might know whatever this and that, but if you don't know how to apply it to time, place, and circumstance, then... So here the demons were not very expert in deciding things. So the demigods and demons then observed a fast. After bathing, they offered clarified butter and oblations into the fire and gave charity to the cows and to the Brahmins and members of the other orders of society. So Mohini Murti assembled the demons and the demigods to sit down in a line. When the demigods and demons saw these beautiful features of Mohini Murti, who was glancing at them and slightly smiling, they were all completely enchanted. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks here that Mohini Murti is the Supreme Personality of Godhead in a feminine form, and that the goddess of fortune is her associate.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm. This form assumed by the personality of Godhead challenged the goddess of fortune. The goddess of fortune is beautiful, but if the Lord accepts the form of a woman, he surpasses the goddess of fortune in beauty. Is not that the goddess of fortune, being female, is the most beautiful.
That's crazy.
The Lord is the most beautiful. The Lord is so beautiful that he can excel any beautiful goddess of fortune by assuming a female form. This is the benefit of being a devotee of Krishna, that you surpass the attraction and allurement of the illusory form of a woman in this material world. And as we were hearing earlier, that you're a worshiper of the Supreme Lord Narayan, the goddess of fortune becomes extremely favorable to you and bestows upon you all necessary opulence. But the ultimate opulence is, as Prahlad Maharaj prayed, or when Lord Nrsimhadev asked him to take benediction, he prayed that there be no material desires in my heart. That is the supreme opulence. Demons are by nature crooked like snakes. Therefore, to distribute a share of nectar to them was not at all feasible. No, you're not getting any. Since this would be as dangerous as supplying milk to a snake. Considering this, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who never falls down, did not deliver a share of nectar to the demons. The Lord, as Mohini Murti, the master of the universe, arranged separate lines of sitting places and seated the demigods and demons according to their positions. Taking the container of nectar in her hand, she first approached the demons, satisfied them with sweet words, and thus cheated them of their share of the nectar. Then she administered the nectar to the demigods, who were sitting at a distant place, to make them free from invalidity, old age, and death. Prabhupada reveals confidentially, or gives us some deeper insight. She approached the demons and spoke with them very graciously, so that they thought themselves very fortunate to talk with her.
Oh,
right? Get to talk with a beautiful woman. Oh, boy. Since Mohini Murti had seated the demigods at a distant place, the demons thought that the demigods would get only a little of the nectar, and that Mohini Murti was so pleased with the demons that she would give the demons all the nectar. The Lord's whole policy was to cheat the demons simply by speaking sweet words. O king, since the demons had promised to accept whatever the woman did, whether just or unjust, now to keep this promise and to show their equilibrium and to save themselves from fighting with a woman, they remained silent. The demons had developed affection for Mohini Murti and a kind of faith in her. Which is their downfall. And they were afraid of disturbing their relationship. This is one of the, like snake-like webs that the beautiful woman creates, so all injustice and impropriety can be done because, you're afraid of disturbing your idea of the nice relationship, And right before your very eyes, all different types of inequity, injustice, and outrage takes place. Therefore, they showed respect and honor to her words and did not say anything that might disturb their friendship with her. The demons were so captivated by the tricks and friendly words of Mohini Murti that although the demigods were served first, the demons were pacified merely by sweet words. The Lord said to the demons, the demigods are very miserly and are excessively anxious to take the nectar first. So let them have it first. Since you are not like them, you can wait a little longer. You are all heroes and are so pleased with me. It is better for you to wait until after the demigods drink first. Now Rahu, he picked up on this. The demon who causes eclipses of the sun and the moon, covered himself with the dress of a demigod, and thus entered the assembly of the demigods and drank nectar without being detected by anyone, even by the Lord. Of course, the Lord knew, but he's going to make a demonstration here. The moon and the sun, however, because of permanent animosity toward Rahu, understood the situation, thus Rahu was detected. the Supreme Lord, Mohini, using his disc, which was sharp like a razor, at once cut off Rahu's head. When Rahu's head was severed from his body, the body being untouched by the nectar could not survive. So the head remained, but then
The body.
Rahu's head, however, being touched by the nectar, became immortal. Thus Brahma accepted Rahu's head as one of the planets. Since Rahu is an eternal enemy of the moon and the sun, he always tries to attack them on the nights of the full moon and the dark moon. So just like we had the eclipse on the last full moon. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the best friend and well-wisher of the three worlds. Thus, when the demigods had almost finished drinking the nectar, the Lord, in the presence of all the demons, disclosed his original form. The place, the time, the cause, the purpose, the activity, and ambition were all the same for both the demigods and the demons, but the demigods achieved one result and the demons another. Because the demigods are always under the shelter of the dust of the Lord's lotus feet, they could very easily drink the nectar and get its result. The demons, however, not having sought shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, were unable to achieve the result they desired. Yetamam prapadyante. Therefore, it can actually be seen that although karmis and bhaktas may work in the same place at the same time, with the same energy and with the same ambition, they achieve different results. The karmis transmigrate through different bodies in the cycle of birth and death, thus suffering the results of their actions in the karma chakra, the wheel of birth and death. The devotees, however, because of fully surrendering at the lotus feet of the Lord, are never baffled in their attempts. Although externally they work almost like the karmis, the devotees go back home, back to Godhead, and achieve success in every effort. The demons or atheists have faith in their own endeavors, but although they work very hard day and night, they cannot get any more than their destiny. The devotees, however, can surpass the reactions of karma and achieve wonderful results even without effort. It is also said, Phalena parichyate. One's success or defeat in any activity is understood by its result. There are many karmis in the dress of devotees. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead can detect their purpose. The karmis want to use the property of the Lord for their selfish sense gratification, but a devotee endeavors to use the Lord's property for God's service. And Prabhupada relates that to some of his self-interested disciples of his spiritual master and wanted the property of their spiritual master, and the spiritual master awarded it. But the most confidential kept blessing of the Lord, of the spiritual master, the ability to spread love of Godhead all over this planet, is not awarded to anyone save and except the disciple who only wants to serve his spiritual master. The karmis want to use the property of the Lord for their selfish sense gratification, but the devotee endeavors to use the Lord's property for God's service. Therefore, a devotee is always distinct from the karmis. Although the karmis may dress like devotees,
Oh my God.
as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Yagnartat Kamano Nyatra, one who works for Lord Vishnu is free from this material world, and after giving up his body, he goes back home, back to Godhead. A karmi, however, although externally working like a devotee, is entangled in his non-devotional activity, and thus he suffers the tribulations of material existence. Thus, from the results achieved by the karmis and devotees, one can understand the presence of the Supreme Lord, who acts differently for the karmis and jnanis than for the devotees. Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Ateva Ashanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhikami Shakale Ashanta. The karmis who desire sense gratification, the jnanis who aspire for the liberation of merging into the existence of the Supreme, and the yogis who seek material success and mystic powers are all restless, and ultimately they are baffled. But the devotee who does not expect any personal benefit and whose only ambition is to spread the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is blessed with the all-auspicious results of bhakti yoga without hard labor. And the chapter concludes, in human society there are various activities performed for the protection of one's wealth and life by one's words, one's mind, and one's actions, but they are all performed for one's personal or extended sense gratification with reference to the body. All these activities are baffled because of being separate from devotional service, but when the same activities are performed for the satisfaction of the Lord, the beneficial results are distributed to everyone, just as water poured on the root of a tree is distributed throughout the entire tree. The only distinction between materialistic activity and spiritual activity is that material activity is performed only to satisfy one's own senses, where spiritual activity is meant to satisfy the transcendental senses of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By spiritual activity, everyone factually benefits, whereas by materialistic activity, no one benefits. Instead, one becomes entangled in the laws of karma. Danvantaram dadasamam trayodasamam evacha apayayat saran anyan mohinya mohayan striya. In the 12th incarnation, the Lord appeared as Danvantari, and in the 13th, he allured the atheists by the charming beauty of a woman and gave nectar to the demigods to drink. Hare Krishna. So we've gone way over time. So we're going to say, yeah.
It's ecstatic. Can we take one or two questions?
Okay.
All right, let's go.
Somehow, just like in the story, it is described that every time a man, when he falls in love, thinks that this arrangement was made in heaven, marriage was made in heaven, and that and even among devotees, you say, Krishna gave me this beautiful woman, and she's guiding me closer to Krishna, and that
Yeah, what am I supposed to say?
well, even out, it's how is this energy so?
How do they think like that?
Yeah.
It's not full thinking, it's not full realization, it's illusory thinking.
They see so many examples before them, but when it happens to them, it's like, it's always,
I'm different.
Yeah.
Everybody's thinking like that. I'm different. I'm an exception to the rule. Looking at it from a different angle of things, in terms of Krishna allows, or is a gradual purification of material desires, or a gradual emerging of one's original spiritual consciousness, that young man and woman coming together in the Grihastha ashram, they may have those type of feelings towards each other, and like the time of marriage, that the knot is tied very tight. But if one is dutiful in that relationship, then that's very good, and then the children born of that will be sane and stable and have a chance to become devotees like that. But at the same time, there is the third ashram, which forgotten. It's called the Vanaprastha ashram, that one should retire. You know, the idea of being attracted by youthful beauty, well, it's kind of built-in obsolescence that, you know, you get old, you know. And women in particular, even more than men, old age kind of strips or disfigures their youthful beauty more than it does to the so-called handsome man. So, you know, this material attraction in the beginning, okay, if it leads you to become more dutiful and more, you know, responsible, that's all well and good, but, you know, beauty is just skin deep. Real beauty is dedication to the mission of the great Acharya, and whatever the relationship, husband and wife, friends, godbrothers, business associates, if everything is done to further that, then those relationships ultimately become purified and can be accepted. Like John Lennon and Yoko Ono came to Prabhupada and he blessed us to live together forever as husband and wife, or man and woman in this loving. And Prabhupada said, that's not my business. The Lord has given you this human form of life, and at the end you have to go your separate ways. That's impossible. So devotee grihastas should at least understand the principle that this relationship is not permanent, and to some degree they should at least accept that it's illusory or it's a temporary relationship. But like utilizing the natural tendency of attraction between man and woman to come together. All right, Prabhupada said, and get yourself married, be a gentleman, and be dutiful. But there's going to be so many problems. Licit or illicit, from this attraction, all types of miseries ensue. So best position is to avoid it altogether. But even if one can't, then one has to revert back at a certain age, and 50, which like now 50 is the new 30 or something, you know, it's like it's like you say, it's like say, okay, I don't want to, you know, the light is, I can make it through the yellow light. I'm going to think of a different example, you know, you just, anyways.
Make it through the red light. There's no cops.
Anything else?
Please don't talk about that.
I have a question in regards to, you know, you were mentioning Sudhama Vipra and how, you know, devotees will see how the opulence is used in the Lord's service. But sometimes we see that, you know, sometimes some devotees may say, okay, I'm going to become wealthy and
Right.
well situated, and then I'll give my money to Krishna.
It never happens.
So, you know, what would you say?
Actually, Prabhupada said that about himself. He said, oh my God, brothers, they're all renounced order, and, you know, I'll make a lot of money and I'll support the mission this way, you know. And Prabhupada was very fond of the verse from the Bhagavatam, 88th chapter, Yasyaham Anugunami. When I'm especially favorable upon someone, I remove all of his material opulences, and then he has to become absolutely. So Prabhupada failed in his business, which in his younger years was very, very successful, Prayag Pharmacy, Abhay Charan Day and Sons. But then later he became even, you know, what is it, Forbes or Guinness Book of World Records. He became one of the most wealthy persons at a late age.
After 70.
Huh?
Over the age, you don't listen to that for 70 people.
Right. On the disappearance of his godbrother Bhakti Pragnakesh Maharaj, Prabhupada was speaking, you know, how this godbrother, my spiritual master through him forced me to accept this renounced order of life. we think that by giving to Krishna that we are loser, but from my personal experience, I'm gainer unlimited times over. This is 1968. I gave up a certain number of children. Now I have 300 children, disciples, like that. So if Krishna takes away, then he'll give us something unlimitedly more valuable. And then that ultimately more valuable thing is his personal service. Anything else?
I was comment. Maybe it's a question, but so generally people chasing the nectar, like
Yeah.
devotees will go to they'll never do some serious service, but they'll just jump from festival to thing to this to that, and the kirtan's not sounding nice or it's not like a festival and I won't go. It's like demoniac. Wait. It's the same.
Heavy duty.
It's the same.
So it's demoniac.
Again, we're hearing that a pure devotee, he only wants to spread the glories of the Lord. So, Prabhupada has written, we were reading the other morning, that if the devotees of Krishna, and Prabhupada calls them the confidential devotees of Krishna, don't spread love of Godhead all over the world, who will do it? So the crying need is staring us right in the face. Prabhupada would quote his spiritual master, there's no scarcity of anything in this world except one thing, scarcity of Krishna consciousness. So pure devotional service is achieved by molding one's life with all the energies at one's command, one's full life's energy, and trying to distribute this Krishna consciousness far and wide. That's really where the nectar is, because the nectar is Krishna's satisfaction.
That's right.
So if we just try to seek our own satisfaction, even, with the facilities given to us, okay, we're not going to rock concerts or karmi dances, but maybe, if we too much looking for, the special nectar in Krishna consciousness, and we're neglecting the austerity required to satisfy Srila Prabhupada and spread this Krishna consciousness movement, then our even enjoying or happiness within the realm of the Krishna consciousness movement can become mundane. It's like we were hearing, there are many karmis in the dress of devotees, and the Lord can detect their purpose. Srila Prabhupada was so great that he raised an army. All of his disciples became, he raised an army to march against Maya. Prepared to do so many things to spread Krishna consciousness. That is the greatness of Srila Prabhupada, his potency. And it was his clear definition that this path is the path that leads to actual love of Godhead. So the better part of valor is to adhere to that. Prabhupada is such an incredible acharya, just like Madhvacharya, for example. 1,000 years after his appearance, his followers scrupulously adhere to the principles and example that he gave. So the better part of valor, and Prabhupada, is to adhere to the emphasis that Prabhupada gave. And Prabhupada's, of course, main emphasis for spreading Krishna consciousness was distribution of his books, which he described as being written by Krishna himself. These books are on supreme platform because they can present Krishna consciousness to the so-called common man of this world, Kali Yuga, and at the same time reveal the highest confidential truths of Braja Bhakti at the same time. Most potent mixture or medicine, Srila Prabhupada's books.
Wow.
So we should have great faith in Prabhupada's books, read them, distribute them, and bring about, as desired, the revolution in this world's misdirected civilization. And for such a devotee, Krishna will give special protection, and they will never fall down, and never be allured by
That was my question.
Maya.
Alright. This answer.
Yeyatam Mama Papa, somewhere in the 8th canto, you know, the more that one adheres strictly, the more protection one gets, the more realization one gets. Those who don't surrender, those who fully, those who don't apply Krishna consciousness strongly, their result will not be as fully manifest as those who do. Yeyatam mam papadyante tam stajaiva bhajamai. All of them, as they surrender unto me, I reward accordingly. Anything else?
I was going to ask that question about the Chancho.
You're saying there's so many karmis dressed up as devotees. How do the devotees recognize these people? Because even amongst within this small group.
We have to be careful that, as I was saying, people were on just natural that when one's younger, both in physical age and in devotional experience, then one's ability to perform higher levels of devotional service will not be manifest yet. Like you can't expect, a child who's in first grade to be able to be on the same standard of knowledge as somebody who's in college. But if they go on nicely, then they'll come to that stage also. So we don't want to be harshly or unnecessarily critical. But in terms of understanding the distinction between pure devotional service and mixed devotional service, we should understand the symptoms of such. And Prabhupada is giving very good basic understanding to this, which could be could be a thoroughly detailed and complex answer, that a pure devotee is simply interested in spreading Krishna's name and fame all over the world. He wants to spread Krishna consciousness, and he spends his whole time and energy to do that. That is a very main symptom of understanding who is the pure devotee, and that's tested over time. One sticks to that. That's another good point. That, okay, I do this, I had a good time, now I gotta move on and find the next good time, But the best results come from sticking on a certain point and not letting up. Moving from here to there, that's really for the Paramahamsa. Like Prabhupada would move from here to there, travel around the world several times a year, but wherever he went, he enlivened and uplifted everyone. The already existing devotees and disciples, new persons became devotees and disciples, and year to year, the enthusiasm and magnitude of Prabhupada's movement would expand exponentially by his traveling.
That's amazing.
So we don't travel just to have a good time and enjoy nice things, and like here I am, I'm a celebrity, like a rock star touring around the world. You know, if the effect is not there to uplift the general populace and devotees at large, then one might question what's the purpose of my moving around. Any other questions? All glories to Narada Muni, who by his traveling uplifts the distressed residents of the universe, because he's fixed in unbroken devotional service and chanting the pure glories of the Lord. So I think I want to stop. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ram.
Maharaj, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam.
Ki Jai!
Hari Hari Bol.
Ki Jai!